Welcome everybody. This is the podcast for the launch of Connecting with Young People in Trouble, Risk, Relationships and Lived Experience. The two people that are on call with me today are Luke and Atti. They'll introduce themselves in a minute. And they are two or three young people that were interviewed for the book. So we'll just get on and I'll hand over to them. So, Atti?
All right. Hi, morning, everyone. My name's Atticus. However, people call me Atti for short. 27 years old and I live in Middleton. Trying to think back now, it's been so long. If I'm not mistaken, I was handed my first order back in 2009 when I was only 16, I think, at the time. I wasn't on that order for too long until I reoffended again, which I was handed my second order in 2010, early 2010, which is where I met Andi on a program called ISSP, or Intensive Supervision Surveillance Program. I was on that program for about 9 months. Yeah, and this is 2010, like I said, and we're in 2021, me and Andi still keep in contact. So yeah, I'm gonna hand over to Luke now.
Thanks, Atti. So, hi guys, my name's Luke. I'm 25. I'm halfway through my bachelor degree at Leeds Beckett University. I've just started a new job working within the criminal justice sector, part-time, with a subcontractor working on the IOM network. And I have been through the care and criminal justice system as a young person, and yeah, I've worked with youth offending service, I've worked with probation, I've worked with a lot of services.
Okay, thanks for that lovely introduction, guys. Nice for everybody to meet you and find out a little bit about you. Atti did miss out the fact that you've studied psychology as well. So we'll just get that one in as well. Yeah. Okay, so I guess I approached you both having a relationship with you now today that's been spanning a decade for you, Atti, and half a decade for you, Luke. And I wanted you to get involved in the project of Connecting with Young People in Trouble. Can you just tell me and anybody that's listening why you thought that you would want to get involved in the project?
So personally, when Andi called me and it was like, oh, he's doing a book, I was like, oh, wow. I was in disbelief, to be honest with you. I couldn't believe it. And he asked me to be part of the book. I was like, of course, Andi, you know me. I'll be part of the book, no problem. You know, I've never been part of a book before. You know, I felt privileged to be part of the book. Because I remember as well, when like Andi said, I've studied psychology. I remember back in 2016, when I first applied for uni, because of my previous offences, they required me to provide a character reference, you know, who I called up Andi. I said, Andi, I need a character reference. And he done that for me. And they assisted me in getting my place at uni. So only felt right, you know, to be part of this book as well. So yeah. I also when Andi was launching his book, I went to Leeds Town Hall where the book launch was taking place. Also gave a presentation there. Nerve-wracking, but you know, we got on with it, and it was a very, very good experience for myself. So yeah, that's why I got involved.
Okay, so just a nice plug there. So that was my first book you're on. I can tell you my story, which was my experience into youth justice. So thank you for that, Atti. Nice plug. Luke?
So for me, when Andi approached me and I became aware that, you know, he intended to write an author and publish a second book, and then offered, you know, myself and Atti the opportunity to sort of have a little involvement in that, I jumped at that opportunity because, you know, just building again on what Atti said, that's not an opportunity that's really available to anyone that I know, and it's an opportunity that had never been available to me. So I saw the value in being able to have my voice heard a little bit within that book. And I'd just like to thank Andi as well for providing that opportunity. So, yeah, can't wait for you all to read it.
Well, to be honest with you, it's my pleasure, Luke. I was really glad that you agreed to be a part of it. So one of the questions I wanted to put to both of you is, in the criminal justice system, youth justice system, you know, we won't go into the reoffending rates, but we often, just in the same as the care system, we often hear talk about system change. So of course you two have experienced it to an extensive level. What does system change mean to you, having had your experiences?
So from my point of view, I believe system change, like the criminal justice system, should focus more on building on appointing practitioners that focus on relationship first with the young person and being the practitioner second. So human first, practitioner second, so to speak. Because I feel like it makes it easier and more comfortable for the young person. From my experience anyway, when I was on ISSP, like I mentioned earlier, when dealing with Andy, because we had that relationship, so having someone like Andy, it made it easier for me to speak about, anything else. Like I could even tell him like personal issues. It was very relaxed and comfortable, to be honest with you.
So the relationships.
The relationship,
Okay.
yeah, is more important.
And Luke?
System change to me, I felt on a personal level it was important because I'd had, like I say, a couple of years consecutive volunteering within services, trying to listen to people's voice who were maybe lost a little bit. So that was a big element that presented itself to me. I wanted to be able to incorporate the voices of people, but also I think system change, I think the system needs to be representative of all service users, and I think it's not right now. So that's definitely an area of system change that I believe should happen in the very near future. And I think that would also, again, to build on what Atti said, it would improve the relationships that are available. It would improve the nature of how practitioners are able to connect and engage with young people, in my opinion.
Okay, well, I guess that kind of feeds me on nicely to the next question that I have both for you. So I've got a fundamental belief, having had an extensive criminal justice experience to the point of being incarcerated several times and addicted to drugs. And when I came into working in youth justice, I kind of feel exactly what you've just said there, Luke, that there is an identity or group membership of people that often get wrapped up in the criminal justice system, and that particular group are not really represented in the criminal justice system, and there are a variation of different reasons for that. But I guess you two have both come through the system as young people and had experience of working with someone like myself who's come from a similar background and had similar experiences. So I guess my question to you is that lived experience important? How important is it? And does it feed into the relational experience that people have when they're coming through? So I guess I put that first to you, Atti.
Okay, yeah. So from my own point of view, like I said, having someone like Andy with lived experience made it easier, and comfortable, because he's been in my seat, so to speak, before. So like I remember sometimes when I would come at ISSP, I'll be wearing my Man United shirt, and Andy would be like joking about saying, your rubbish team lost in the weekend. So to get the conversation going, we'll talk about football first, and it would get comfortable. Then we'll then tackle, like stuff to do with my order first of all. Like to give you a quick example. Like I said, I was on my first order back in 2009 with a different person. Obviously, don't want to mention his name just in case he's watching and all that. The guy, the gentleman, he was off color like myself. But he was very, very formal. And I remember going down to the youth offending service where he was working at, sitting down in his office, he'd cross his legs and he had glasses on, he had his notepad out. It felt very formal and very intimidating, if I'm honest with you. It wasn't comfortable at all. Like if he was talking to me, all I was thinking about was just checking my watch. I need to be out of this place, I feel very scared and I'm vulnerable. Don't really know what to say, But then on the flip side of that, on ISSP, while working with someone like Andy, like I said, it was more relaxed, it was more like a very, very comfortable relationship that me and Andy had, So it made things much easier, and it made it much easier to talk about my order, like I said. So yeah. That's how I believe lived experience. Having someone with lived experience. Not that it's imperative, but for me, it made it much easier to have someone.
So just to pick up on that. So you talked a little bit about football, and so my criminal background wasn't a reason that I enjoyed football. But was it something about so it wasn't was it the football, or was it the way we interacted to talk about football?
It was the way we interacted. I could tell that you are a football fan. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was easy. It was easy, like, to talk about stuff to do with my order, because we had that relationship about the football, so we know how we engage with each other. And I remember as well when I was on ISSP. I'd be lying if I said I remember the exact time frame when it was. Andy approached me to do a thing called victim mediation. You know, he explained and gave me the details what the whole experience would be about, what it entailed, and all that. You know, once he asked me the first time, I remember going home telling my mum that Andy's saying I should meet one of my victims. I'm thinking, no way, I'm not gonna. I'm like, nah, there's no chance I'm doing that. No way. I was like, no way. But anyway, he asked me again a few times. You know, I was like, in the end, I was like, you know, because I trusted Andy, and I felt like it might be a good thing for me to partake in this victim mediation. So in the end, I did agree. You know, it turned out to be one of the best experiences I've ever had to this day in my life. You know, because our relationship was based on trust. It made the whole experience feel safe. So yeah, and I remember the lady at the end that I met. She gave me some chocolate and flowers and wished me well and a nice card.
And did that did going through that experience help you to kind of go on the road to desistance and go to university, etc.?
Oh, 100%. Because I remember after meeting the lady, you know, she was explaining how she felt, because she was saying whatever she felt, and it was traumatic for her. You know, I told myself from there on, I don't want to make anyone else feel that type of way. You know, it made me steer away from crime, to be honest with you. So it led me to go to uni, you know, and the year after that, like a few years after that, I had my child, this and that, you know.
Well,
I was in the straight and narrow, so
I can honestly say that was a really powerful experience for me to experience as well as a practitioner. And Luke, I guess over to you. So lived experience, relationships, that murky area. What are your views on that?
It is a murky area at times, you're right, but I feel like services often ask people in society, often marginalised people in society, to be honest and open and trusting, but I don't feel like we can do that if they don't feel represented, if they don't feel as though their voice is being heard. So I feel like it's really important to incorporate lived experience into services where possible, to offer a more diverse workforce, to offer a more diverse ability, you know, of engaging people, of building them relationships. As you say, between Atti and Andy, that was able to happen because you prioritised the relationship you had between yourselves, and I think that people with lived experience are able to do that in a much more capable and diverse way. Yeah, definitely, I do think that that's possible, especially through my own experience as well in what I've seen.
Thanks, guys. I always find it fascinating when we have conversations between people with lived experience, because one of the fundamental principles when we think about relationship building is actually shared experience, shared identity, shared life experience, which is the driver behind writing Connecting with Young People in Trouble, Risk, Relationships and Lived Experience, because it's not widely discussed when you come outside of the kind of group membership of those that have come into service or come from certain backgrounds. And so I wanted to do a deep dive into the relational experience of young people that come into the youth justice system and the relationships and communities that they come from and the justice system itself. I wanted to explore what words like hard to reach and disengaged, what do they actually mean when we think about that through the context of risk management. And that's where I think we need to think more about relationships and the intricate relationship between the system and communities, because from my experience of having extensive experience as a justice recipient and also as a practitioner, I see an obvious tension there through an implicit bias lens. So I've really dig deep into that in the book. And in conclusion, what I wanted to do is be helpful to other people about sharing knowledge, because I think we should all be doing that all the time. And so I've used my lived experience, my now extensive practice experience, but also my theory. Now, I've learned a lot of theory over the 15 years, but to do this book, I really did do my research. And I came across a model from someone called Dr. Dan Siegel, who is an expert in interpersonal neurobiology and in the attachment field. And he once worked in a suicide helpline call centre, and he used a model to develop relationships with people that were suicidal that he explained was PACT. So presence, attunement, resonance and trust. And as soon as I heard him say that, I thought, wow, that's really powerful. That is exactly how I would explain how I used all my lived experiences of navigating services to build rapport and authentic relationships with you guys and other people. And so I've slightly amended his PART model to be used in the criminal justice context to PACT. So developing a desistance pact with young people: presence, attunement, connection and trust. And I go into them in detail in the book. And the reason obtaining trust from young people like yourselves and myself when we were young people is it's not readily available because of our experiences as we developed, particularly with authority or establishment. And so if you obtain trust, as Atti outlined earlier, you can move young people from being reactive to the information you provide to being receptive to the information you provide. And I think that if the criminal justice system, particularly the youth justice system, had more readily available lived experience training, I think we would be able to move the service and system on to a more relationship-based practice model and have better outcomes. So I'm just asking you, could you tell that I was working in that way? And is it helpful to obtain trust in young people? And should the system have training from people with lived experience?
Yeah. So to conclude, like when I was on ISSP, that was quite an experience for myself. You know, like I said before, having someone like Andi, it really helped. You know, I felt like we had a really strong connection, like I mentioned before, and how I mentioned that I trusted him. You know, with something that seemed so far-fetched to me at the time when he first asked me about the victim mediation. You know, I was very, very scared. Like I said, I went home to tell my mom, you know, but because our relationship had already been built on trust, it made it seem like I was okay with it, you know, like I trusted Andy's opinion, you know. So I went in there, even though there was a fear factor, of course, 100%, you know, I was nervous, this and that. But like I said, it was all based on trust and we had that connection. It felt safe to do it. So yeah, that's my point of view.
And do you think the criminal justice system, or particularly the youth justice system, should have training packages and how to obtain that trust? Because I'm guessing, from my own experience, it's not readily available from young people. It's got to be earned, but there's an assumption that everybody can get it without that specific training about how you do it with this particular group.
Absolutely. I feel like it would be very, very beneficial for the practitioner and for the young person if youth offending services implement this type of approach, saying that practitioners should focus more on building a relationship with the young person first, rather than just focusing on the order.
To me, healthy, trusting, empathic relationships are reciprocal. You know, it's a two-way, and I think that if training is not readily available to engage that trust, then that raises the question of what the best methodology is to do that. And I think that PACT offers a fantastic model for many practitioners, ideally within the criminal justice service, but I am also sure, as you say, you've adapted that from another field of professionalism. I'm sure that there's many practitioners who will be able to, you know, adapt this to their own personal industry. I feel that being able to engage people in those meaningful relationships is absolutely key if you want to successfully manage risk, if you want to successfully build a trusting relationship, particularly with a child or a young person that's, you know, experienced adversity, trauma. It's imperative.
Okay, guys, that was absolutely fantastic. Thank you for giving your Saturday morning up when you've already given some time up for the book. So thank you very much, and I'll see you soon. Wow, What a brilliant discussion. It's always great to hear the stories and the lived experiences of other people. So there you have it. Relationships are absolutely vital to improving outcomes for young people in trouble. So I hope you've enjoyed the podcast launch for connecting with young people in trouble. Thank you very much. See you soon.